Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerd Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garrett Price.
How's it going?
And he's Jared Wackerly.
Hello.
Look at us.
That's
it's a foursome.
That's whacktastic. Jared's here.
Oh, man, 2025. Here we are. First show of the year, kicking off the Dynasty season. Hope all of you guys have those shiny trophies in your closets. I hope you have some extra cash lining those pockets. I came away with 3 titles this year. I feel pretty good about that. I feel good about 3 titles.
Good work.
Of all the games I lost that would have put me in a championship game, I think out of like the 5 games, I would have won 4 of the 5 leagues if I just would have won. I would have been the winner. I would have won like 7 chips, but that's the past. That's 2024, and I'm living in 2025 with you fine gents, and I'm excited. I'm excited for the 2025 season to kick off because that's what it is here, right? Like there's no off season in Dynasty. This is the 2025 Dynasty Fantasy Football season. It begins today.
We made it.
How do you want your season to go? Right? Like it's going to come down to this: how much work you're going to put in. What are you going to do? How are you going to make your teams better? I've already got trade offers coming in. I got trade offers going out. Like this is can't stop, won't stop. Get out the oil. We're all getting greasy.
Quit sending Peter trades.
I would have won that league too if I would have just scored one more point. If what's his face doesn't throw that touchdown at the very end, I won the Dynasty Nerds Invitational with an amazing comeback from doing mushrooms at the pool. God bless America. Could have been me. Could have been
you, Mario.
That's
so.
For you.
We're kicking this off. The year. We were going to do the award show first, and kick it off with the award show. But we were like, no. If you're going to kick off the season, the Dynasty season, there's only one way to do it, right? And that's a way too early.
Way too early.
Rookie mock draft.
Too early.
2025, way too early. Super flex, tight end premium, rookie mock draft. Now, a lot of this is going to change, but if you look back, for the most part, a lot of this foundation is going to be in this radius, right? Like I know there's some running backs last year that kind of were here in this January mock that were out of the mock altogether come April. And that can happen here as well, because this is like a very generic tape. Like I had to have Garrett and Jared send me the list of guys, like they had them, how they had them ranked already, because they're already deep into the tape, to go off of this draft and use them as help to go and then find guys and get a little bit more tidbits on them for this draft analysis. But a lot's going to change because this isn't a deep dive into the tape. I know, Garrett, you're in the running backs already. Jared, you've already done a lot of the running backs. I know, Matt, you've dived into some of these running backs as well. I've yet to dive into the tape.
I would say I put my toe in the water. I wouldn't say I've dived in. Is it dived in the right word?
Hey,
that sounds wrong. That sounds wrong.
Hey, if you're just a little wet, that's good enough for me, baby. I'm bone dry over here. Come on, lube me up.
I think that's what you do in a pool.
What's that?
I don't think you lube up for the pool.
You've never seen Rich, man. He oils everything.
Yeah, dude. You put on enough sun, dude. You never gone in the pool with a lot of suntan lotion, and you get in and you put your hand on your body, look at me. What kind of party is this?
Think of that the same way you do, but fair.
Okay. I've done that a couple times. I'm like, ooh, look how silky my arm is.
Rich Diddy.
In the water. Yeah, that's what they call me. Diddy D. Anyways, so we are going to do this rookie draft. The order is going to go. So we did 2 rounds, 1 through 12. Matt is going to go first. I will go second. Garrett will go third. Jared will go fourth. And then rinse and repeat. We will name our players. We will talk about our players, and then we'll move on. So the show might be
don't say it, Rich. Don't say it.
A little long.
A little longer than normal.
I thought you were going to say the opposite. I thought you were going to say, it'll be pretty quick.
It's going to be a quick one.
We got 2 rounds through here.
Hour and a half later.
This is you're out of your mind. This is way too long. This should be a 2-show episode.
I
don't
know.
what's going on
I
around
thought
here.
it was. Well, I was like, I thought we were
Yeah.
splitting it first round,
I
second
was like,
round.
dude, we'll do first round, second round, and then we'll do like the award show for the Nerd Herd, or something, or as a
I
bonus.
mean, we'll
text
see. We
me
could always
earlier.
pivot. We could always pivot. We've done it before. We could
If
do
we're
it
gonna
again.
keep talking about getting all wet, we're never gonna get where we need to go.
Gary, when you texted me earlier, he's staying for both shows. I was like, wait, so you don't want me for the second round or something? Like,
Your picks were pretty bad in round 2, Jared. We'd like to talk about them without you.
Yeah, we'd like to just
yeah, I
make
was
fun
like,
of you if you don't mind.
guess we'll do a 2-hour episode here.
Well, anyway,
We'll
let's
see
get
how
it
it goes.
started, right? I'm
Matt,
kicking
you're on
off.
the clock, buddy.
Yeah, 1-1. Even though this is a Superflex tight end premium draft, I'm going Ashton Jeanty here. 5'9", 215 pounds. Last year, or I guess last year being really relative since it was about a week
Last
ago,
week.
the season ended. 2,600 yards on 374 carries, 29 rushing touchdowns. He had 23 receptions, 138 yards, and another touchdown through the air for a total of 30. Oh, this guy's gross, man. So, I mean, obviously, the numbers speak for themselves. We're playing a game that's based off of numbers. I don't know if you guys know that or not. So I think this guy's going to be pretty successful. I haven't watched a ton of tape on the guy. Everyone's seen the highlights. Everyone's seen what he does. He's built the right way. From everything I've seen, he runs the ball the right way, and the production is disgusting. So even though this is a Superflex tight end premium position, I do feel like this way too early draft, this mock draft, I feel like I can get away with a pick like this right here.
Yeah, 100%, man. When you get one of those like running backs that are in grade out just as good as Bijan, like who doesn't want a piece of that pie? I mean, everybody out there hopes to get plenty of Jenny. I unfortunately don't have any 1-1s, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have a
Did you say
couple
Jenny?
1-2s,
He did
Plenty
say
of Jenny.
plenty of Jenny. Yeah,
There's a T.
rhymes.
There's
Just
a
gotta
T.
Ashton, Jenny, and Keneal
Yeah,
Harry.
Yeah, Nikhil here, Keneal, what?
Keneal
whatever.
hair. That is what you used to say.
Harry situation. Okay,
It doesn't matter
Keneal
either way.
Harry. So yeah, I mean that's what we're looking for. We've seen the running back position kind of pivot here when it comes to fantasy, when it comes to dynasty, and when you get any running back that's going in the first round, like Ashton Jeanty is going to go into,
Crushed it.
then yeah, it's a pretty home run, definitely. And I'm just gonna piggyback off I'm in the same boat as you, Matt. I have 1-2 here, and talk about something that could change from here to now when I dive into the tape. But right now, as is today, from just watching the games, like I still don't feel comfortable enough to take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders here, right? Like Cam Ward's looked pretty good. I feel like he's looked better than Shedeur Sanders from what I've seen casually, not watching the tape. And I'm just going to take the number 1 receiver off the board here, and that's Tet McMillan out of Arizona, 6'5", 212. And the biggest thing you're probably going to hear negative about Tet is like, oh yeah, just another big receiver that can't separate, right? Like he just can't separate, a lot of contested catches. But like from when I see it out of him, like I thought he's an okay route runner. Does he need to get like more consistent there? Yeah, 100%. But he's 6'5", 212. Like, has that really hurt Mike Evans over the years? Has that hurt Drake London early on? Like, that's the kind of receiver you're getting with a guy like Tet McMillan. I mean, big bodied, big arms, pretty smooth when you watch him play too. Like he's a real smooth receiver, really good with the ball in his hands as well. Not going to outrun anybody, but like that's something that's so overblown, right? Like again, you watch these combine numbers, these fast receivers, like they're all duds. Like the only even worth a damn here is like Xavier Worthy in his rookie year. He's looked okay, but they're all duds, right? Like I think Jerry Rice ran a 4.67, something along those lines. And that's for a player like McMillan, he's a winner. And it's why he's going to be the first receiver off the board in the NFL draft. And he's going to go probably top 15, right? Like McMillan's going to go top 15.
Yeah.
So to have that kind of
probably top 10.
investment, to get that kind of player, to be the number 1 receiver, which is what he qualifies. And listen, this draft class is a running back and tight end class. Like it's not a receiving class, really. It's not a quarterback class. So when you're looking at like, hey, if there's a good quarterback, there might just be one. If there's a stud receiver here, it might just be, I have to watch all these guys, but like outside Tet McMillan, and this can even go for like a guy like Luther Burden, he's the only guy that I know off the top of my head that's like, okay, this guy could be the true chance to be a dynasty wide receiver 1, right? Tons of running backs, 3 really good tight ends, and then Tet McMillan, and then maybe you go Cam Ward. Because once you got that, like, okay, why take Cam Ward? Like, I'll take Will Howard. I'll take Jackson Dart. Like I'll take Jalen Milroe. I'll wait on Shedeur Sanders. Like, I want to get the alpha here. I'll wait on the quarterback because I think there might be, by the time we get to April, there'll probably be a big bump in some quarterbacks that we like into the right situation, right? Like a couple guys might go higher than we anticipate in right spots. So I take Tet McMillan out of Arizona, big body, stud receiver, only 20 years old, versatile too, a guy who played all the positions in Arizona. He played out of the slot, he played out of the X, he played out of the Z. So for him to be able to go out there and line up anywhere on the field, I think he has the talent to take a step to fix some of the things that we do not like. Because the things that needs to be fixed are fixable, right? It's not Quinshon Johnson's ball skills, which he kind of fixed a little bit at the end of the year. He looked okay there. So very slightly. Any uptick from a turd is an uptick, right? Like once that smell goes away, you're like, this situation, you still have a turd on the table, but once it stops smelling, you're like, this is a better situation. Like this is things are going good around here.
This is a
one of your analogies finally worked out. I get that one. That makes sense to me.
Thank you so much for
odorless turd.
It's still a turd, but it doesn't smell bad anymore. At least that's something.
I can live with this for now.
with Tet McMillan, I haven't done the deeper dive that I've done on some of the running backs yet. But like one of his best routes, which is a route that is a difficult route to run. And a lot of times you see these smaller slot type receivers that are really good at this route, is the whip route. Like he actually runs the whip really, really well. He does have more contested catches than you would like to see, but I don't think that's as much a product of his inability to separate at times as it is the function that he plays in the offense and the quarterback play. There were a lot of times where it was underthrown. It was just a 50-50 ball type situation. So I don't hold that as much against Tet McMillan as maybe other people might. It's still not the slam dunk that many of the receivers in this past class were, but the ceiling is absolutely insane for a guy like Tet McMillan. So I think this is a really good pick.
Nice. You're on the clock.
All right. I did end up going with the quarterback here. It gets to a point where those two guys, Ashton Jeanty, Tet McMillan, they look like they can be true alphas at their position, or at least have a very good chance to. After that, things do just get a little bit more iffy. There's a lot of other good running backs. There's some tight ends. There's another receiver or two that are pretty interesting. But at some point, you got to go with the quarterback because it's a super flex format, and those are guys that could gain insane value. I mean, look at two guys that were taken in the second round of rookie drafts last year. A lot of people would be happy to have Bo Nix and Michael Penix as their quarterbacks right now. So
I'm sorry. What'd you say? I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Just wait for the award show. Just wait for the award show. Okay. You got an award from me. Spoiler alert.
Bo Nix. Littered with rookies. My award show is littered with rookies.
I know there are a lot of rookies on there. All of that being said, I had to go with a quarterback here. So I went with Cam Ward. Neither one of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders are these crazy athletes. Neither one of them are guys that I think are going to put up 500+ yard rushing season. So it wasn't like there was one of those guys that were going to be a cheat code, but I expect both those guys to be top 5 picks in the NFL draft. Cam Ward, there are times where he shows off his athleticism, and he does have it. He just truly chooses to be a pocket passer as much as humanly possible, which for NFL teams is a great thing. But he does have the athletic ability at times as well. And we also have to remember, when we look at college rushing yards, they negatively affect sacks. So if a sack happens, they take that away from the quarterback's rushing yards. So when you see these quarterback rushing stats, they would be much better in the NFL than they are in college because sacks aren't taken into account in the NFL against the quarterback's rushing. But all that being said, he's got the size that you would want, 6'2", 223 pounds. So it's a pretty thick quarterback, well-built guy. He's got a very strong arm, and that transfer to Miami, I think, was the best thing for him because he was kind of in this no man's land at Washington State, and everybody kind of expected good things from him, and it just didn't quite pan out. But then this year, 4,300 yards, 39 passing touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. He put everything on paper that you would want to see. So I ended up going with the value position of quarterback in Superflex and took Cam Ward at 103.
I think it's good value too. Like you're getting a guy who's potentially the number 1 overall here at 3. And again, my opinion might change come April. You know,
Sure,
after watching all the
up.
tape and everybody, and actually be able to watch Cam Ward in depth as well. But you know, you're right, Garrett. Like it's a very valuable position. Both these guys meet that threshold of quarterback starts. I think they're both they hit that 35 start
35
margin
starts, yeah.
as well. So which you want to see as well for success.
Yeah.
So it's super flex, and that unfortunately sometimes it's a gamble that you have to take. Now I will say that at least this kind of year will be the year like. Since none of these quarterbacks are like high end quarterbacks, you're like, dude, my biggest need here at 4 is running back. Like, okay, take the running back. Like, it's not like end of the world here. Where we're like, for years we say, gotta take the quarterbacks. You gotta take the quarterbacks. You gotta take the quarterbacks. But like, this might be the year you'd be like, oh, okay. Like, if you need Tet McMillan, take Tet McMillan. If you need TreVeyon Henderson, take TreVeyon Henderson. Whoever the number 2 running back is going to be. So never go bad with quarterbacks. So because the biggest thing you got to remember here is even a mediocre quarterback, a quarterback 2. Is a top 70 overall scorer. Yep. Even then,
they hold their value.
They hold their value. They're insulated prospects, and they're going to give you double-digit points for the most part every single week. And you can't say that for a lot of other players.
And highest
so
longevity,
super flex spot. That's where you start them at. That's why you have this extra super flex spot.
And highest longevity in dynasty leagues as well. Not that you want to look too far in advance, but you could use and abuse a guy for a decade and then still sell him for a profit 10 years later. So,
and just real quick on Cam Ward, like everything that I've heard and read about this guy is just great leader, always in the film room, guy that's going to bring up the level of the entire team because he just wants to win and be the best, and he gets the best out of all the guys around him, which are things that are super important from that position.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch him though, because just watching him, I haven't dug into his film yet, but just watching him as I watch college football a lot, he's so composed in the way he plays quarterback. It's almost comical because there are times where he just stands still and just throws a pass like kind of like he's being funny. Like it's so easy to him. I don't know. He's just got this way he plays. It's you can tell he's not rushed or rattled or anything. He's super composed. So,
man, it sounds like a quarterback I'd like to lead in my franchise. My franchise quarterback has one leg is on the side of a road making TikToks with his girlfriend while other people are playing week 17. It's unbelievable. Good for Cam Ward.
I'm next on the clock here at 104, and I'm gonna dip back into the quarterback pool. Really, there's only 2 quarterbacks right now that I would
Matt. You're in a pool with Matt. Look at you, pervies.
Only 2 quarterbacks right now in the process that I would even consider in the first 5 picks, and my pick is Shedeur Sanders, obviously from Colorado. Rich mentioned it earlier, but he also hits that 35 games started in college threshold that you guys went into great depth in one of the episodes earlier this year, where you guys dug into the hit rates compared to quarterbacks who didn't hit that 35 start threshold. And I mean, it increases the odds of having a fantasy hit substantially when you have a first-round quarterback, plus he had at least 35 starts. And he had 50 career starts between his time at Jackson State and Colorado, where he ended up transferring, and his dad, Deion Sanders, is the coach. What I like about Shedeur is he can make every throw. He has great arm strength. Not an elite arm like Josh Allen or anything, but there's nothing to be concerned with there. I think his footwork is really, really good. He always has a strong base under him, so he's always ready to throw. He's really accurate. He's really good at layering throws over the middle, over the top of linebackers, post routes on time. So a lot of the quarterbacking and accuracy and arm stuff, footwork stuff, I love. There is some like off the field, not that he gets in trouble, but just the way he handles media. It's kind of like his dad back in the day. It's he called out his O-line publicly after their loss to Nebraska. I think it was like week 2 or something, which you don't normally see quarterbacks do that. That's a no-no. Then again, I'm not in the locker room every day, so I don't know exactly what his relationship is with those guys. Maybe they needed to hear it. I don't know. But typically you don't want to call out your teammates and right after a loss publicly to the media. So there's just things like that when you draft this guy, there's going to be a circus that comes to town. How that impacts fantasy football, probably not much, but it could affect his draft stock or where he goes. But then
Not
again,
Johnny Manziel 2.0.
in a different light, yeah, Johnny Manziel had a lot of partying and shit. I don't really see that with Shedeur. It's just kind of the media stuff.
No
just
fake
like Tim
mustaches
Tebow
going to Las
Casinos.
Vegas and then posting fake Instagram photos like you're laying with your dog while you're really in Vegas with a fake mustache.
Yes, none of that. Like Johnny Manziel had his own reason for
The
having
pain
a
of being a
circus.
Browns fan. People don't even know.
Tim
my
Tebow
struggle.
was the same thing, just he's
but
just
on
got
the
that.
opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Our first round quarterbacks are making TikToks on the side of the road while the games are going on. Other ones are out there in fake mustaches. Other ones are getting trapped under flags, coming in as 29-year-old rookies. What is going on?
But
I knew it was over for Brandon Whedon the second he got trapped under that flag, man. All of us
Sorry,
did.
Jared. Go
you're
out
good.
with your
No, I
Shedeur
mean,
Sanders.
I think he's going to be a top 5 pick, and he has the game started that we like, and
Out of curiosity, Jared, if you had to
Yeah.
choose, if you were at 3, would you have gone Shedeur or would you have gone Cam Ward? Like, which one do you like
I
more?
would have gone Cam Ward.
Okay. It was close for me. I had a hard time choosing between the two, but I like Cam a little bit more at this point. But that's at a very brief, like surface level stuff.
Yeah, Shedeur, he tends to take a lot of sacks, and I don't think it's a processing thing. I think it's more of like a hero ball thing. Whereas with Cam Ward, he also makes plays outside of the pocket like Shedeur does, but I see more positive plays from him, and just the things I hear about him as a person kind of tip the scale a little bit for
Makes
me.
sense.
And I'm not saying Shedeur's a bad person. I'm just saying what
The
we've seen.
circus is coming to town a little bit when you get him, right?
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah. So
Well, and that attitude can go a long way. Like, look at a guy like Carson Wentz. Like, everyone just didn't like him. And that really kind of, everywhere he went, that didn't matter what the numbers were. Like, you look at a lot of his seasons, even his bad years and with the Colts and things like that, like, his numbers were actually pretty good. But he just kind of soured things wherever he went. And so, I'm not saying Shedeur will or won't do that, but that is something that you always keep in the back of your mind. Like, could something other than football ruin it for this guy?
It happens all the time. You have to be very aware of those red flags. Jermaine Burton's a prime example just from his past class. Like, super
Loved his
talented guy.
tape.
We all loved his tape, and we mentioned a lot of red flags. We took him in the second round of a lot of drafts, and if not the high third round, and we were really excited about him. And this is a guy who has a chance not even be on the Bengals next year already because of the flags. And I heard the last one, like, I don't know what it is, but I heard it was really bad as well. So
I'm super curious to see how that dynamic is going to work for him as a pro in the NFL when it's the first time where his dad's not the head coach. That can I'm not in there. I don't know how it all works in there, but just from a psychological standpoint,
there's 6 vacancies right now. Hold
There
your breath, bump the brakes, man. You never know. Prime might be coming.
yeah, if the Raiders want to hit up the Browns at number 2 and make a trade, and they
That's
hire
true.
Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders as head coach, and then draft Shedeur, like, I'm all for it because I want to move back as a Browns fan and get more draft capital and take, I want to get in the trenches and attack quarterback next year. So, yeah, I'm with Matt on that one. Like, we still got a ways to go. Antonio Pierce had a job yesterday, doesn't have a job today.
No, sir.
All right, so
Matt,
moving on to
on that owner, you never know what kind of crazy stuff can go on there.
I mean, just look at his haircut decisions. You know he's crazy, man. It's
Dude,
pro.
you got-
freaking haircut I've ever seen.
You gotta be rich.
How
Either
can you
You're
be
either super rich or super poor. One way or the other. Either your
Bro.
mama cut your hair, or some of you way overpaid for that.
That is the worst thing.
$400 haircut.
Shout out to all those mamas that cut hair good though. Sorry, no offense. My
All
mom
right,
cut my
move-
hair when I was little too. I was super poor.
all right, Matt? You're on the clock at 105.
All right, 105. Even though Jared said there's only 2 quarterbacks
I was gonna say,
that he would
shots
consider
fired.
taking, in the
At
top
this
5
point.
picks. You said at the top 5
You said top 5 picks.
I did.
Here I am at 5, Quinn Ewers. So
Suck
here
it,
I am.
Jared.
Similar to what Garrett was thinking, though. Earlier, there are a lot of running backs. There are, there's a tight end there too, and a few wide receivers left. But there's one quarterback that I feel okay about, in the fact that he's progressed and gotten better every single year. I mean, we watched tape on guys like Worthy last year, and I was unimpressed with Quinn Ewers. I thought he missed a lot of throws. I thought there was a lot that he needed to improve on. But I think this season, the stats don't look better this year than they were last year, leaps and bounds like you would think. But physically watching him play some of the games, I feel like he's kind of eliminated some of those just kind of errant throws and missed shots that I did see on tape last year. Now I still have to do my deep dive, so I can't like stand on that and say for sure that all that's gone. But from the games that I've watched of him, I do feel like he's gotten better and just a more consistent thrower. Obviously, moving from the Big 12 to the SEC was, I think, big for him because week in and week out, you're seeing better defenses, and to even plateau and have numbers that look very similar to last year and do them in the SEC, I think is a step in the right direction for Quinn. And, now he's got to make another step and kind of take his game to the next level here in the NFL. I think he can do it. I don't know. He's listed at 6'3", 206 pounds. I'm not sure what size he's actually going to come in at. I'm very curious about that, because he is a pocket passer. He's not going to give you anything on the ground. He had negative 64 yards on 52 attempts, but obviously college, they subtract for sacks from your rush total. So that's how he got to that number. But he's not going to add anything in that department. So he's got to be able to throw from the pocket. And obviously from a fantasy standpoint, that somewhat limits him. So if he's a 6'1" guy and he's throwing from the pocket, I think, it's going to be a struggle for him. If he is truly 6'3", maybe he's got a little bit more clear of a lane. Maybe he can do some things that he can't at 6'1". You know what I mean? So I do want to see kind of where he lands. But last quarterback that I feel super comfortable about, and I feel real comfortable about a lot of these running backs and wide receivers and stuff. So that's my reasoning behind taking Quinn here at this point.
And we still don't know if he's coming out yet either.
He could go back. He
Right.
could end up transferring, dude, because Arch Manning's coming.
They're ready for him.
Lucky.
I would be shocked, right? Wouldn't you guys be shocked if he didn't enter the draft at this point?
I mean,
Just
we're gonna-
knowing
I think
what's
it
coming
depends what
behind him.
happens Friday, dude. I think against Ohio State,
I can tell you what's
'cause-
happening Friday.
yeah, I think they're going to kick his ass. He struggles versus pressure. Yeah, I don't know. When I watch Quinn Ewers, dude, there's just something missing. There's just he's definitely had a much better year. I think he's looked better. I agree with you, Matt. But
And his
I just
ceiling is
don't
nuts. His ceiling is, I mean,
he's got the arm talent.
The arm talent is undeniable. I mean, he's absolutely got it. But and he's done a better job with decision making this year. He has been more accurate. But I'm with you. Despite how everything has worked out and they're making it far in the playoffs, there's a reason that he still just isn't as high on boards and people aren't talking about him as top 5. There's just something not there. And I don't know that you can even tangibly say what it is, but there's just something not there.
I think you see it during the games. Like, you're like, dude, what is going on? And then he always just comes back and like looks really good at the end. And you're like, there you go. That's the guy you want to win. Like, like it's like when I watch Quinn Ewers play, like there'll be like a whole quarter, like, dude, what the hell is this guy even doing out there?
Right.
And then next quarter, you're like, dude,
He makes some like wow throws. You're like, oh,
that's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
that's
weird.
what makes
It's
it.
I kind of had that feeling about like Will Howard that last game. I was like,
Dude,
that's-
Will Howard's looked really good the last couple
I know.
weeks.
That last couple weeks, I was like, dude, Will Howard out of nowhere looks like it. Like, I thought he was like a jag at best.
I think
you know
he's
what
just starting to
Hey,
click with his.
hey, whoa,
I mean,
whoa,
he
whoa.
transferred. And
We'll get to Will Howard eventually.
Okay.
Guys, come
Okay.
on, man.
All
Let's
right,
not
let's
get
move
ahead of
on.
ourselves.
I'm on the
35 starts, by the way, for Quinn Ewers at Texas. He had one at a game played at Ohio State, but he just handed the ball off a couple times. 35
He
starts
had a
for
mall.
Texas.
He had a mall at the time. It doesn't count.
Yeah, it does not count.
Yeah, former number 1 overall ranked prospect.
He got
And I-
offered Ohio State in middle school. That's how good he was throwing the ball. Just to let you guys know.
I just want to throw out one thing: is we didn't include Drew Aller in this draft because he has said that he is coming back. But I could see him, depending on how the last part of the season here goes, end up declaring, and I could see him getting first round capital. But just FYI for listeners, in case you're wondering why you haven't heard
Penn
his name
State
as we go through here. Yep.
I only think he comes out if he finds out like the Browns would be willing to draft him. Like he back channels that. Like, hey, would the Browns be interested in me at 2? Like he's a huge Browns fan. Like he's a massive
Medina kid.
Yeah, Browns fan. And like he's like publicly states like how much he's a Browns fan too. So like if I have 2, like I mean, if like for me, like that'd be like me, like or my kid. I'm like, dude, I know you said you're coming back, but the fucking Browns said you would take you at 2. Like if you want me to love you still,
yeah,
you gotta come out, man.
Nothing like taking another project at quarterback. Awesome.
Yeah, I know, right?
Listen, it don't matter who we take; they're gonna fail. So it doesn't.
Hey, you said the same thing about Bo Nix, Garrett. Yeah,
that's true.
We don't know.
If Bo Nix played for the Browns, he wouldn't be looking like that. I promise you. That's why Baker looked so good when he left. He had to grow up. So, anyways, I'm on the clock here. Matt takes Quinn Ewers. Makes me very happy because I get my second favorite running back in this class. Again, outside the deep dive, and this is somebody who I've had the pleasure of watching every snap he's ever played, and that's TreVeyon Henderson of Ohio State. I know, Garrett, you said Quinshon Judkins was your number 2 running back in this class.
But I haven't done Tre yet. I have not done Tre yet.
That's fine. And from watching the 2 side by side, all this year is the first year they played for each other. I've always envisioned TreVeyon Henderson as an NFL running back. He's got speed, he's got power, he's got hands, so he can catch the ball very well. That's not like his number 1 forte, but he's remember we always talk about running backs, cans or cannots, right? And TreVeyon Henderson's.
I think he definitely can. I question the power a little bit. I haven't seen much power out of him, but
I like his power when it comes to pass protection.
Okay.
And that's
I think he's good at that.
I think he's really good at it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if you watch TreVeyon Henderson, because those are like little things like when I get to watch like the Ohio State running backs and like
Ohio State backs typically are good pass protectors.
But like when I watch like the tape deep dive, like when you watch a team that you watch every week, like you kind of watch those, you want to watch tape sometimes, right? Like I look at pass protection as like such a huge attribute where like that's going to tell me if you have the ability to be on the field for 3 downs, right? Or if you're just going to come in and be a situational back. Now, in today's NFL, most running backs are situational backs. So that's fine. Like if he comes in and plays the role that he's playing now, which is he is the lead back there. Quinshon Judkins is the number 2 essentially. But watching TreVeyon Henderson pass protect, and I actually went back and watched a little bit of this because I had some free time today and I knew my draft picks. We drafted these ahead of time. I went out there and like just watched a little bit more. And again, I was like, yeah, I was watching that Penn State game actually, because I know we're a chance to play Penn State. And I was like, man, TreVeyon did a really good job there in some pass protection and looked really good there. So for somebody to go out there and play tough, he's 5'10", 215 pounds. This is somebody that come in here and be potentially that 3 down starter. He can come out here and be that Bucky Irvin this year. Like I love the upside of TreVeyon Henderson. I feel very comfortable drafting him because I know for sure there may be other running backs I might like ahead of him, and that's just to show you the depth of this class. But right now, if this was even like 3 or 4 and I got TreVeyon in, I'd feel really good. There might come a chance when it's all said and done, I might take TreVeyon ahead of Tet McMillan. Who knows? Like the NFL draft will dictate that, right? Like where some of these guys goes, because we all get that running back fever. It's going to happen this year. Like every scout is talking about like how special this running back class is. No matter where I look, whether there's Dane Brugler, Reed, any of your favorite draft analysts, they all come out and say how strong this running back class is, which NFL GMs know this as well. The NFL landscape is going to change drastically at this position. And a lot of these guys are going to enter that stratosphere of the top 24. And I know because I just did my top rankings overall. And once you get past like running, I think Garrett and I talked about this. Like once you get past running back like 6, like right around there, you're like, dude, give me the young bloods, right? Like all these guys can go, all of them. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about TreVeyon Henderson. I can't wait to see where he goes. I think he'll go in the second round of the NFL draft. But even in today's day and age, we're going to see a lot of these guys go in the second and third round, and that is fantastic draft capital for a running back.
Yeah, he had a really good season this year, despite like he didn't have the amount of carries that Quinshon Judkins did. Like Judkins had more carries, but he still put up nearly the identical yards on 126 carries, 925 yards. That's good for 7.3 a clip. Like that's doing that in the Big Ten is pretty impressive. It's not like he's doing it in a cupcake conference. 10 rushing touchdowns. And it's the home run ability with TreVeyon Henderson that's really the exciting part. Like, he's not going to be David Montgomery. He's going to be more like Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, he's not going to be Zach Moss. He's going to be more like Chase Brown. He's going to be like the other guy, but he's going to be so effective with his touches because he's got good vision. He's got good feel for the game. And let's not forget, he was the number 1 overall prospect at the running back position in his class. So he's that guy. He's always been that guy. And I was glad you were before me, because then I didn't have to make the choice between TreVeyon Henderson or the guy I chose. So kind of worked out. All right.
TreVeyon, hold on. TreVeyon is insane. I don't have much to say. No one mentioned his lateral agility. I just wanted to put that out there. I think that's another thing that's special. It goes hand in hand with his vision. I think that dude can just make people miss in the holes. It's a very unique thing for him compared to a lot of these other guys.
No, I think it's a great point.
Yep. Speed and vision's there. All like so many boxes to check off for TreVeyon. So, Garrett, sounds like you stay close to home here, huh?
I do. I go with the other guy in the backfield. I went with Quinshon Judkins, and Rich is right. Right now, I still have plenty of running backs to go, so I'm not even close to being done with my running back scouting, but I have probably a good 80% of the big name guys, and Quinshon's number 2 for me right now. I'm not going to get into his nerd score and stuff yet. We'll get into that when we get into the season, although I do have a number, and it is pretty solid. But all that being said, I love the way this guy runs the football. He has, and what has elevated him, because if you've heard me talk before, up until this point, Omarion Hampton was the guy that I thought was going to be my running back too. But Jared and I talk about this all the time. Once you start watching the tape, things shift, things change. Like, your priors shouldn't stay identical. Like, if you're doing your job correctly. And Quinshon has the same power that a lot of these other guys, the Kaleb Johnsons, the Omarion Hamptons, all these guys, he has the same kind of power that those guys have, but he has explosiveness that those guys do not have. And I think that's the big difference for me with Quinshon, is he has the size and build to be an every down back, but he can also hit some of those home run plays that other guys can't hit. You see him do pretty good things in the receiving game as well, does a good job in the open field. I like his vision. Like, there's a lot of good here with Quinshon Judkins. And we saw him do this not just at Ohio State. Let's not forget that he came out as a true freshman, and he wasn't this huge name guy, but he came out as a true freshman in the SEC playing for Ole Miss and put up 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns. Like, you don't do that as a true freshman in the SEC. So there's a lot to like here with Quinshon Judkins. And if he doesn't end up being my RB2, that means somebody else had some really, really good tape, and I'm comfortable with that. But either way, I feel good with Quinshon Judkins. Here's my second pick and the 6th or 7th pick overall? 7th pick overall.
That's a great get at that position in this draft. Garrett and I have both, but this year we've decided to watch the same guys as we go along. And he's also my RB2 through the batch of running backs that we've done so far. We haven't done TreVeyon Henderson, like you said already. We haven't done Cam Skattabo and Nick Singleton. There's still quite a few guys we still need to get through, but we did Omarion Hampton. We did Kaleb Johnson. We did Jeanty and
Gordon.
Judkins, dude. He's one of the few guys that I could see being a 3-down running back if you needed that. He's not lightning or thunder. He can be both. Like you said, I like Judkins a lot. He runs mean, dude.
He does run.
Yeah, I love the way he plays.
I question his long speed a little bit, right? I don't know that he's going to run away from guys for 60-yard runs, but I think he's got enough burst to get 15, 20-yard chunks in the NFL anyway. I think it's pretty rare in the NFL that you're going to get 80-yard runs. Unless you're a Blazer, if
Dameon Pierce could do it, Quinshon can do it.
I think he's fast. I don't think he's TreVeyon, Saquon fast.
Right.
I think he'll run like a 4.48, 4.5 flat, like somewhere in there.
Plenty fast.
It's plenty.
Yeah,
it is plenty
90
fast.
yard run fast.
I don't want to make it sound like he can't do it. I just have something's not. I guess
agree.
watching him right next to TreVeyon's
Sure.
clearly
TreVeyon's
faster.
Definitely faster. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, TreVeyon gets the edge and he's gone.
Yeah, I gave him a 7.5 game speed nerd score.
All right. Go ahead,
Where
Jared.
we going, Jared?
All right. I'm taking the first tight end off the board.
Whoa.
Sorry, Matt.
Hey, man.
I saw you were coming up next. I was like, I got to grab him before he does. Penn State's tight end, Tyler Warren, best tight end in college football this year. He set receiving records, Big Ten receiving records this year. He put up 98 receptions, 1,158 yards, and 8 touchdowns. But it's not just receiving. Like, they put him at Wildcat. That's how good of an athlete this guy is. He had 24 rushes, 197 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Like, they do everything they can to get this guy the ball. He was a quarterback in high school, so he converted to tight end. He's 6'6", 260 pounds.
Big boy.
He can go up over top of defenders, and he has the ball skills and catching ability to come down with the football. I love this kid. I think he's going to be top 20 pick, first round pick lock. And we'd love to see that for tight ends. So I have no problem with the influx of talent we've seen at the tight end position and some of these guys that are coming in from college, like, and the way they've been able to transition quicker these days. I think he's going to be able to come in and produce right away. I think this is an easy pick here in the
I think he's going to go top 20. I think he's going to be easily top 20. I think and again, remember, this is super flex tight end premium. So this is, in the right situation, I've seen him mocked a lot to the Colts. That's a good situation for him. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really good situation for him. So we'll see.
I think he's a better prospect than we saw with Kincaid and maybe even Pitts.
I mean, well, Pitts was a pretty special prospect coming out of college.
He's more of a total package, I think.
Okay.
I
was gonna say he's not another Gesicki, right? That's gonna tease me.
He's 6'6", 260. No.
I haven't watched anything on him other than the game.
He's not
that
a basketball player playing football. He's a football player.
Yeah, I've seen him multiple times here, definitely in the bowl games and whatnot too. And he looks like the truth. Like
he's that dude. Yeah.
He's gonna go out there. He's an athlete, and go out there and make some plays. So he's gonna go in the first round. It's gonna be one of those guys where like right around here, like it's gonna be where he's gonna go in tight end premium leagues. And you're like, man, I can get another running back later. You know what I mean? Like
a little unsure. Yeah.
Definitely over these receivers too, because that's what he's essentially going to be. One of these big time receivers, and we saw players like him, like a guy like Trey McBride, can come in and do right. Like that's what he can offer you, is like a guy like Trey McBride brings to the table.
Yep.
All right, Matt, you're up.
Moving on to the next pick here. I'm up at 1.9, and I went Kaleb Johnson, Iowa running back, 6 foot, 225 pounds. So he's a bigger guy. Really able to kind of take a pounding there, and over 1,500 yards rushing last season, another almost 200 yards passing. So he had over 1,700 yards and 23 touchdowns total. So this dude can score. He can rack up the points. Obviously, you mentioned he's not like a home run type of guy, but I do think he's a grinded out kind of big back type of guy. So I have a lot to watch on this guy still. I kind of only did a real cursory glance at him. But at this point, 1.9 in those kind of numbers, they're kind of eye popping. They grab my attention a bit. So that's why I'm going Kaleb Johnson here.
I've seen him at RB2 for a lot of people too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been digging too much
him.
into where guys are getting drafted either. So to get him at 1.9, and a lot of people see him at the RB2. I mean, obviously, I've seen a lot more of the guys at Ohio State, so I would probably also lean and take those guys first, but they're not available. So here I am.
Yeah, to be able to put up those numbers in the Big Ten, I mean, he's a legitimate running back, and I think he's going to make a team real happy. He's missing for me right now. He's missing that gear that I want him to have, and maybe it's the kind of thing where he pulls a Lev Bell and like slims down a little bit and finds that gear, and then he could be nasty. But that was the thing kind of missing for me is I saw him get like taken down from behind a lot and things like that. So it definitely liked his tape, but I was prepared to go in and fall in love. And then I was kind of like, oh man, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to.
And Lev Bell it's so rare. You know what I mean? For a guy to go to the NFL and get better, like that much better, from that speed aspect. So it is hard to project that kind of stuff. People certainly do it. I mean, we always I always personally say it out loud. I'm like, we never like kind of give room for these guys to grow and get better when they hit the pros. So it's possible. But you do want to see it on tape at the college level, at least something to hang your hat on. So
Bucky Irvin did it this year for me. I was like Bucky Irvin didn't really do it for me that too much on tape. And look at him now. Like I have him as a top 6 dynasty running back.
Yeah. All the way up. All right, Rich.
All right.
Who's up? Yeah, Rich, you're up next, man.
Oh, hey, girls. It's
Hey.
me. I'm back on the clock. And here we are at pick number 110. As we're almost an hour into the show.
Yeah, we'll do part 2, the second round. We'll move it.
Just more audio for all of you. So I'm here. I'm picking at 110, and this is where like I can go a lot of different ways, right? I can grab the next running back off the board. I've got the number 2 tight end off the board, which come this time in April, like I might be very interested in Colston Loveland here, but I went with the number 2 receiver here in Luther Burden. And watching Luther Burden out of Missouri, he's 5'11", 205. He kind of reminds me of he's like a thicker Jordan Addison, and then like slimmer kind of like Debo. And I want to use that
Golden
Debo
Tate.
comparison. Yeah, Golden Tate's a good comp for him because he's so dynamic with the football in his hands.
Yeah,
right. Like he's super fast. He makes people miss, and he catches the ball with his hands. The biggest knock on him though is like he just plays the slot in college, like that. He's a slot receiver. When he plays in Missouri, you get a lot of like free releases, I guess is the best way to say it out there as well too. So, again, just from the limited time I've seen him, this is a player that I've known his name for a while, right? Mm-hmm. Like Luther Burden's been on the radar since last year. Yeah. And he's one of those people, like you watch his highlight tape and you're like, this guy is awesome. Right. But like, also I see some of the things that you read into, like, okay, he's only played the slot. Yeah. Like he gets a lot of free release.
His numbers were very meh this year.
Yeah, his number, he had just an okay year. Like, oh, all right, that's kind of not great. But when you watch him, he's got the speed, and I use Jordan Addison because I can see him turn into one of those guys where like, okay, he's not a wide receiver 1, but he's gonna give you like low end wide receiver 2 numbers pretty consistently, and like, okay, I can live with that. All rumors are he's gonna be a first round pick, which is again kind of like a Jordan Addison pick there, like the Minnesota. So I'm really excited to see where he goes. I'm really excited to dig deep into his tape, but from a casual glance, I liked what I saw, right? Like when you see him get the ball in his hand and you see people miss, he looks like a dynamic receiver in the open field. I got to see the nitty gritty of him getting off the line, see his hands, see his route running. But from the outside looking in, looks good.
I think that's fair. Yeah, he was the number 1 receiver in his class coming out. And yeah, he had a down year compared to what he put on the field previously. There were some injuries at the quarterback position and things like that, which negatively played into it. And Missouri just wasn't a good team. They were in the past. They made a New Year's Day bowl game 2 years ago, and this year they were pretty mediocre. So I think all of that plays into it. Wasn't ideal, but that could be one of those situations where you get to buy low on a rookie prospect that the year before, I mean, everybody would have probably told you he might be the 1-1 in the class. We weren't talking about Jeanty. We weren't, I mean, not like this. We weren't talking about Tet McMillan like this. We weren't like most people, he would have probably been the 1-1. So this could end up being a huge value, but also you never want to see guys the year that they come out have their worst year. So,
yeah. And I really got to compare him. I think for me, my number 2 prospect is really like on the outside looking in. Again, we always find these guys we like is like, okay, Luther Burden or Emeka Egbuka.
Sure.
That's what's going to come down to for me. So who's up
Yeah,
next?
Garrett.
Oh, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No,
Matt?
you're good. No, the whole point was Emeka Egbuka. We can talk about him later because he's going to be in the next round.
He's going to get drafted.
He's going to get
will.
drafted. We'll just talk about him then.
He will be taken. All right. I followed Jared on this, and I said, you know what? I want to get me a tight end as well. And I went with Colston Loveland. And part of it was like, as painful as it is, he tears up Ohio State. Like watching
where does this guy go? Boo.
Yeah, I know. Now, when you look at the raw numbers compared to other guys, you're like, why is everybody so high on Colston Loveland? Like, put up 582 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like, that's not very impressive. Well, if you guys had to guess, how many yards do you think the number 2 receiver on this team had?
I was going to say that accounts for 80% of their passing offense.
If I had to guess, 250 yards or something.
That's almost exactly right. 248 was the next best player on the team.
Their quarterbacks were so bad.
They were so bad. Loveland also missed a game. So in the Ohio State game this year. So like all of that being said, if you turn on the tape though, he's got what you want. He has got really good hands. He can go up and get the football. He finds ways to get open. And he's one of those guys that really fights. Like I love seeing those players that like fight for extra yards. And he's one of those guys that'll just keep working and hustling and pushing. And like he gives it everything he has. So he's another one that I would expect to be first round tight end in this year's draft. He was that guy coming into the season. He hasn't done anything to dissuade me from that. And when you look at kind of the landscape, there's still plenty of teams that could absolutely use a tight end. 6'5", 245. So he's got the measurables that you want out of the tight end position. So I go Colston Loveland at pick 111.
Love it. All right. Well, I'm next on the clock here to round out the first round at 112. And I'm going with what I feel like is going to be the ultimate like enigma of the class. Like, what do we do with them? And that's Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner from Colorado this season. And I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see a player that wins the Bednarik Award for best defensive player and then the Biletnikoff Award for best receiver again. He was the number 1 recruit in his entire class at every position coming in from out of high school. He was the first 5-star player to ever sign with an FCS program in Jackson State. The most important thing, not the most important thing, but one of the biggest thing that stuck out to me was he played the most snaps out of every FBS player, and he maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA while in college. I think that speaks volumes to his character. I loved his speech at the Heisman because it was just him, raw. It was just him. I love this kid as a person, and I think from like a receiver standpoint, no matter if he plays DB or receiver, obviously receiver matters most for us. I think he's going to be very good. I mean, he's one of the most athletically gifted guys we've seen play college football. And from a receiver standpoint, because that's what's going to score us points, I think the sky's the limit. There's definitely some refinement that he needs to. Go ahead.
Yeah, where would you take him? Like, if you knew that he was 100% just a receiver, how high would you be willing to take him?
Probably top 5, dude.
Yeah.
I think
he'd be pushing Tet for me. Like, it'd be close.
Yeah, wide receiver 1.
I want
Because
the Browns to draft him at 2.
the really only cons with his receiving game to me is like, I mean, he's going to improve as a route runner like they all do, but it's the lengthiness. Like, he can get pushed off his routes a little bit when he faces corners that are willing to test him at the line of scrimmage, just because he's 6'1", 165 pounds or 185 pounds. Like he's pretty lengthy
slight.
And slight, but everything else, dude, super explosive.
Ball skills,
fantastic body control. Like, yeah, ball skills are insane. So, I mean, everyone knows Travis Hunter. Who doesn't know him?
Have you?
Dude, he's a freak.
Have you seen his like dunking highlights?
No, I haven't.
Dude,
but
they had him do this
want
like
to.
Yeah, go and like watch him like dunk a basketball. It's hilarious.
I guarantee he doesn't do the combine. I don't know why.
I won't have any shares of Travis Hunter.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I don't think we're gonna have a clear picture. I don't think we're gonna have a clear picture on what he's gonna be, even at the time of rookie drafts.
Everything I've read so far. Again, I just go off of what I read. It's January, so things are gonna change. But like, ideally, a lot of NFL GMs want to play him at cornerback, but then give him like maybe 10, 15 snaps at receiver here and there. Like he will get snaps at receiver by, his predominant role in the NFL will be cornerback.
Will be like Deion Sanders.
I know, dude. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard.
It's going to be like Chris Gable back in the day.
Yeah, Chris Gamble.
Chris Gamble. That stuff at Ohio. Or Gamble. What did I say? Gable.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, my son was like, "Oh, Dad, nobody's ever done this." I'm like, "Apparently, son, you're very young. You never heard of Chris Gamble."
I forgot about him.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he was awesome even on the Panthers, and he just again retired early, moved to the mountains, went off the map, went off to oblivion, didn't talk to anybody. Played two ways.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be the ultimate enigma of this draft. Like, what do you do with Travis Hunter?
It's just unless I know he's going to play receiver, like I can't take that over.
I said it earlier on one of our podcasts that just me and Garrett did, and we were doing we were going over the mock draft that our writers did. I think it's going to come down to me how they announce him. I know that sounds silly, but if they come out and say, Travis Hunter, wide receiver, I think that does like kind of speak a little bit to whatever that team envisions him, how they envision using him.
I agree with you there.
Because I read it off the card. So the team would be writing down where they envision him. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I'm putting up so many smoke screens. I'm listing him as a linebacker. I'm just messing with people.
I think
returner.
That's the only thing that we're going to have to go off of. I mean, we all know what he's capable of, and it's greatness at either position. So it really does boil down to how that team envisions him. The press conference afterwards, how he's kind of announced there on draft night is going to go a long way to me figuring out where the heck he's going to go on my board. Because like you guys, he could be the number one wide receiver just based off of things I've seen, just off his skill set alone. I think he's definitely worthy of that. But he could also be like the fifth or sixth wide receiver taken because no one knows where the hell to value him. So he is a very hard guy to nail down.
He's easily the best corner.
Yeah, you don't want to miss. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to miss. Like you can't just waste a first round pick on a gamble. And as I said, there's a lot. He's a guy we're going to work through the most. And I think when it's all said and done, I think by the time you have your rookie draft, we might have a little bit more ground under our feet. You know what I mean? Like I think we'll have a better understanding. So this is what we can do here. That was the first 12 picks. It went Ashton Jeanty, Tet McMillan, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Quinn Ewers, TreVeyon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Tyler Warren, Kaleb Johnson, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and Travis Hunter. So what we can do is we can do another episode, guys, if you want, and cover the whole second round like we did the first round.
Let's do it.
Or we could, we're at 57 minutes. We could take the next 13 minutes, go through our picks, and kind of like not go as in depth as it is the second round, and kind of give like a quick one sentence on
Jared's like, I want to get out of here pretty soon. Let's do that.
The FFPC playoff challenges are back for another season. Just pick 12 players, one from each playoff team, and ride them all the way to the big dance. It's that simple. Over $1.8 million is on the line between the two contests exclusively at FFPC.
Well, I want to do the award show.
No, I love talking about these guys.
No,
me too. And the thing is, like, we're going to talk about them so in depth.
We are
already.
Yeah.
We're in the second round, and we're just here to put names on a map, right? So let's put the names on a map. Even like my last pick, like I took a receiver. Like I kind of want to take the tight end from Bowling Green, Harold Fane instead.
All right,
already,
do it.
because like
you know what,
I heard somebody talk about him, and I mean I've heard his name forever now in the process, and then like. I looked at just a little bit of tape. Like I'm like, wow, he looks pretty damn athletic. Like,
I mean, do it. We haven't told anybody who we're taking yet, so go ahead.
You're right. Okay, that's who I am going to
take.
take. So,
it screws up the board.
Well, then you can take him at
all right
212.
I'll stick with my board. I'm saying Harold Fane didn't get drafted, and I think when it's all said and done, he'll be
over somebody
a
else.
top 24 pick in your rookie draft. So how about we hammer through? We'll let Jared say Skattabo, and then we'll go. We'll do a award show next.
Everyone should have their pens and paper out if you're listening to this episode, writing down all these names, and then going to the film room and watching all of these players
and all these guys,
figuring out themselves too, because we have the amount of all 22 film we have in the film room this year is far and away way more than we've ever had
Not
before.
close.
So, and that's all we have this year. We didn't do any broadcast film. It's all 22, and we're so far ahead at this point this year than we were last year, and we have so much more tape.
It's the number one resource that people that watch film in the industry use. It's the Dynasty Nerds Film Room. If you're going to subscribe to the Nerd Herd ever, this is the time you're going to do it. So, Matt, you're on the clock with 2-1.
All right, 2-1. I dip my toes in the wide receiver pool finally, and I go Tre Harris. He's 6'2". He's listed at 6'2", 204, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And in only 8 games last year, he was able to get over 1,000 yards, 1,030 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I haven't watched this guy at all, but those numbers pop enough to me that I'm willing to make that kind of move here at number 2 and kind of go from there early on in this process.
I've heard some people talk about him as wide receiver 2 in this class, potentially. Big play waiting to happen, got the adequate size. So I think that's a great pick.
Thanks.
At 2-2, I'm going to clock, and I'm real hesitant about this pick, to be honest with you. And it's Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Big time recruit. He went to North Carolina, but he had offers from all the big schools, like Ohio State offered him, Michigan offered him, LSU offered him. So for me, like, my number one hesitancy is here because he's 6 foot, 220 pounds. He's that power
decision making,
right? Yeah.
It's
if
he had offers from all those better schools and he went to North Carolina, decision making is a big time question.
I don't know. There's a lot of reasons people pick schools. I mean, you say
I'm just
like Travis Hunter,
totally.
he went to Jackson
I'm
State,
totally.
you know what I mean?
I'm totally joking. North Carolina has been pumping out good running backs into the NFL. Man, I'm
so
messing.
it's just. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, I mean, I saw him catch the football some, but like, I don't know if it's going to be a strength of him. So like when you're not a pass catcher running back too, like that could kind of hurt a little bit. Garrett mentioned too, like this, like breakaway speed is concerned, but when you're looking for somebody that's just a big bodied running back, like Omarion Hampton's kind of it. But like at the same time, Cam Skattabo, like after watching some of him, it's like, oh, dude, like he runs some pretty good routes for how big of a boy he is, and like for guys that can't go down, like that's just something you can't teach. So like those are like, I'm like, okay,
there's a joke.
Hampton
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Cam Skattabo. I went with Hampton.
You might have a chance. You might have a chance later. For what it's worth, my comp right now for Omarion Hampton would be Braylon Allen. He reminds me a lot of Braylon Allen. So good. I mean, we've seen good and bad out of Braylon Allen. So he looked good for the Jets this year. So we'll see. All right, at 2-3,
Skattabo.
I would say this is probably the second most volatile pick after Jared's Travis Hunter. I went with Jalen Milroe. I could be lighting this pick on fire. This could be absolute nothing. But on the flip side, I think since he's declared, there's like a outside shot that he's a first round pick. He's a freak athlete. When you talk about a guy that could legitimately play running back in the NFL, like if for some reason it didn't work out at quarterback, like I think teams will still hold on to him and see if he'll switch positions because he's got the size, 6'2", 225. So, I mean, he is built like a running back, over 700 rushing yards. And his biggest game, 185 yards against LSU on the ground with 4 rushing touchdowns. So like he can take over the game with
he's
his
so
legs.
fast.
He's so freaking fast. Very strong. The question is really going to come down to, is he a good enough passer at the next level? And I don't know that we have the answer to that. He had his best passing game against Georgia where he put up 374 yards, but then you see other games where he's only putting up in the hundreds. Like he did throw some interceptions at times, only 16 passing touchdowns to 11 interceptions. So it's not a great ratio. So there's a lot of question marks here. But in the second round, like that's the type of lottery ticket I want to scratch. And honestly, like,
hell yeah,
I could see him going much higher as we get a better feel for all of this.
If he gets
Terrell Pryor is the one that made it, the former quarterback that made his position change that
Wide
did well
receiver.
for a little bit.
yeah. If he gets first round capital, like I would be cool with taking him way earlier than this. Just the amount, like we see how rushing quarterbacks do for fantasy.
Yeah.
What if it's like Hurts, like second round, right?
I think I was telling Garrett on the phone, I was like, he reminds me of like he will need to have the Hurts path where he improves greatly as a passer. He's a much better athlete than Hurts. Doesn't really have like the lateral, like side to side, make you miss like Lamar or Jaden Daniels, but just as fast, if not faster than both of those guys. So I like it, Garrett. I think it's a good risk to take at this point.
For sure. And I think he's a better runner of the football than even a guy that we loved in Anthony Richardson. Similar throwing concerns, but I like him better as a runner than Anthony Richardson. So,
and this is Jalen Milroe from Alabama, right? We didn't. I don't think we mentioned that he was a quarterback from Alabama. So I just wanted to say that.
All right.
Yep, I am next, and I think I'm getting great value here. 204, the Emeka Egbuka wide receiver from Ohio State. And I was doing some digging on him, and some of the record books have him as the all-time leading receiver in receiving yards for Ohio State. But then I think the school doesn't, and it's something to do with counting playoff games and not counting playoff games or bowl games and stuff. But anyway, he's up there in like the top, as far as statistics go, one of the top receivers ever at Ohio State. I think he's second in all-time receptions. KJ Hill's first. So he needs 7 more over the next 2 games to pass KJ Hill for all-time receptions at Ohio State. But as far as being a receiver goes, like super nuanced, can get open anywhere on the field. I think he definitely projects as a slot receiver. That's been his primary role at Ohio State. And I think that's what he would be best at the next level. Good hands, can make people miss in the open field. I think he's just an all-around solid receiver. He's not a guy that's going to go up and win contested catches or make body control catches or anything like that. He's a chain mover, a reliable wide receiver 2 in an offense that could be a good PPR target. So I like the value getting here in the mid-second.
Nice. That's a great pick. All right, Matt.
I agree that I think he's a solid guy. Probably not spectacular, but solid. All right. At 2.5 with my next pick, I'm going to go Dylan Sampson. What'd you say?
Page him.
I still don't understand the words you just said.
Somebody page Sampson.
Sampson. I thought that's what you're going with there.
Page him. Now I got you. All right. Anyway, Dylan Sampson, Tennessee running back, 5'11", 201 pounds, what he's listed at about 1,500 yards last year, rushing another couple hundred, almost couple hundred, 150 yards through the air. So just a nice all-around guy, and pretty good all-around back.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm bummed that I didn't get to see him against Ohio State. I would have loved to have seen that live showing against a solid defense. But I'm gonna dig in this tape at 2.5. I feel like if you can get a guy that's crazy upside, I think it's you're fishing with dynamite, so to speak. It's pretty good value.
All right, then I'm going to clock here at 2.6, and I did watch an entire game of Cam Skattabo, and that was
Skattabo,
Mr. Adam Sandler here, and that was versus Texas in the bowl game, and man, he was all of Arizona State. So I can't wait to watch his tape, because when I watched him play, the way he plays are things like he's a baller. Like you don't teach things like that. This guy, he can't go down. He's 5'10". He is a monster of a guy. And what I liked about him is, like, when I was watching, I was like, dude, his lateral agility for his size looked pretty good. I was like, look at this guy moving. And then I saw him out there running routes. Like, I'm like, this guy, I was like, he just ran a really good route and just caught that ball. Like he doesn't look like what he's.
Did he play wide receiver at some point? Isn't that Didn't he line
I
up
have
and
no
play wide
idea.
receiver at some point, like in his career? I don't know.
In the game, he ran some routes.
Seemingly.
He had that one route to the sideline, beat the defender down the sideline, and I don't know, I can't remember if he scored or not, but like, I mean, he's out there throwing touchdowns. He's out there running touchdowns. He's puking on the sideline, coming back in. I mean, he just. I was very impressed with the kid, like in a big time moment, like very, very impressed with the kids. I don't know how that's going to translate over all the tape, but from that game alone, I was like, man, this kid is an NFL running back. And I didn't know a lot about him at all. So I came away very impressed. So I'm very happy getting here this late without knowing much off except for that one game, Cam Skattabo.
Dude, I cannot wait to score him for the Nerd Score. That's like the one player that I'm kind of like been like reserving. So I just have a feeling from the little, like what I've seen, I'm just going to really like his film.
I've heard he's got a third round grade on him too.
We'll see. I don't think he's going to test well, and that's okay.
All right,
Garrett.
At 2-7, I went and took the third running back in a row here. That we had Dylan Sampson, Skattabo, and then we have Ollie Gordon. Now, last year, this was the number one running back in the class. He won the Walker Award for top running back in college football. He put up 1,700 yards, 21 touchdowns, another 39 receptions, 330 yards through the air, and a touchdown. And so coming into this season, the expectations were sky high.
He did get a DUI before the season started, though.
Did get a DUI before the season. That's true. Expectations were really high. He did not live up to those expectations. Only 880 yards this season, 13 touchdowns, 29 receptions, 179 yards, and a touchdown through the air. But if he didn't have that huge season, those numbers are still not terrible numbers on 190 carries. And he's definitely got the size, literally the identical size to Jalen Milroe, 6'2", 225. So he's got like more than ideal size at the position. He is a big boy. I wasn't sure I was going to like him because I casually watched a couple of his games like during the season on TV. And I was like, I don't know. The more I watched him, though, you could tell that his offensive line was not what it was a year ago. It was a much different offensive line, at least performance-wise. I don't know who the players were. Maybe it's similar players, but production-wise, there were not a lot of holes there for him. And he did some things that I really liked on film. So at this point in the draft, in the second round, like those are the types of running backs that I want to gamble on that have paths to success, and the size and the productivity that he had in his sophomore campaign lead me to believe that he could end up being a pretty good back.
Next.
Dude, every single one of these running backs we've taken, aside from Dylan Sampson, they all have size.
They're huge.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Somebody tell Sampson.
Yeah, all right. So I'm next on the clock at 2:08, and I went with Tez Johnson, wide receiver from Oregon. Super quick twitch athlete. He kind of reminds me of Tank Dell or like Tutu Atwell coming out. 5'10", 165 pounds, so super thin. Can get routed a little bit by cornerbacks when they get up in his business at the line of scrimmage. Struggles in contested catch situations, and I think his hands are a little iffy as well.
Sounds really good, man.
Sounds like somebody I'm not gonna like at all.
We'll see. I mean, all he's done is produce. He spent his first couple of years at Troy, and he was their number one receiver. Freshman year, put up over 700 yards. Sophomore season, put up over 800 yards. And then 2023, put up over 1,000 for 10 touchdowns with Bo Nix. And then this past year, he had over 800 yards for 10 touchdowns. So super productive receiver. And I think he's a really good route runner and just makes people miss and very fast. And a cool thing about him is he transferred to Oregon to play with Bo Nix, and I don't know if anybody saw College Game Day, but they kind of went over this guy's life, and he lived with the Nix family during his high school years, where Bo Nix's dad was his high school coach and everything, because he's lost his dad and had a rough family situation. So
they're brothers essentially.
Yeah, they're Bo Nix is his adoptive brother, and just a good kid. So I can't wait to score him. I liked Tank Dell a lot, so I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I didn't even like put
Right,
two and two
Julie.
together that it was the same guy from Oregon, because I had him written down as Troy for some reason. Probably for his first couple of years.
Really?
So until you were like going on, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Tez Johnson.
That's not
Like,
Troy Franklin.
yeah, I remember this guy. Yep. All right. So
All right,
let's
Matt.
move on. Sorry.
Are
Yeah,
you
it's supposed to be
thinking of
quick.
Troy Franklin though?
No, I'm not. No, Tez Johnson. No,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just from. Didn't he play this? He
Wrong
played this
team,
year
man.
for Oregon, right?
Yeah.
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 That's what we're talking about in the rookie draft show.
Right.
Is
All
it?
right.
It's not on the
I'm just
All right,
getting
it's
everything
late where
straight
we're
in my
at,
brain.
guys. It's getting late.
It is really getting late. All right, at 2-9, I'm going to go Will Howard. I'm dipping my foot back in the quarterback waters, and we mentioned it kind of earlier when we talked about him. Will Howard's just gotten better every kind of step of the way this season, and even if you look back at his numbers from the past few seasons at Kansas State, he went from a guy that was thrown for like 1,600 yards to 2,600 yards. Right now, so far, he's got like almost 3,500 yards at Ohio State this season. So. And he did come in as a guy that I knew immediately that he was going to be able to operate this offense. He looked good, but there was questions about in my brain whether or not he was going to be able to kind of take any of this and translate it into the NFL. As the season's gone on, I'm starting to get a little bit more convinced that maybe he does have some stuff that translates to the NFL. So to be able to get him here at 2-9, I think this is going to be one of those things that might change the longer we go and closer to the draft we get. He's going to maybe start bumping up a little bit here to at least the high part of the second round. And so at 2-9, I feel like I'm getting really good value right here.
Yeah, he's got some Brock Purdy to his game, out there. I mean, that one pass he made to Emeka I was like, that's one of the best throws I've seen all year.
Dude,
Like, this past game. I was like, that's literally one of the best college throws I've seen all year long.
Just dropping
two
it
more
right in.
games
Yep.
like he's played over the last 2 games. Like if he strings together another couple really good games, I think people are gonna be talking about him more.
Yeah, definitely they win the ship. So I'm on here. Like I said, I'd probably take Harold Fain here, tight end at Bowling Green, but I end up with Isaiah Bond, Texas wide receiver. Bond, you've seen this guy 100 times, right? 5'11", 175 pounds, vertical threat, speedster. Tracks the ball well, pretty good there. Just you're gonna hear all this. The same thing. We've talked about this receiver over the last 11 years.
It'll be a first-round pick.
Times. Not strong enough. Contested catches. His route run needs some work. That's.
Are you doing the Jared Wackerly sell job on this guy? Both of you guys are really convincing me that you love these players.
He said he wanted to change the pick. He should have just changed the pick.
He should have just changed the pick.
Or no, Harold Fain. My bad.
We ain't got time for that. We got 2 more picks. Let's go. We got an award show to do.
All right. At 211, I took Nick Singleton. This felt like the steal of the draft to me, honestly, with how things kind of worked out. I've seen him mocked
It's not.
in the first round
I've
for
seen
a
this
lot.
guy play a couple times. I'm just like, I don't get it.
Look, he's not my favorite running back either. I have him at running back 6 right now. And that's okay. But
Sell him, Garrett.
But with a lot of people having him as one of their top 3 backs in the class, I mean, he was formerly the number 1 overall running back in his class coming out of high school. So he's got the pedigree there. He put up over 1,000 yards this season. He does have the long speed that you look for. You see several runs that he had over 40 plus yards in his career. So he's got a lot of the things that you would like. He's just kind of missing that because it's tough because he's got the size at 227, like 6 foot. Like he's built to be a featured running back, but Allen at times looks just as good as he does in this offense. And so that's the weird part is like, if he's that elite, why hasn't he really taken that step to beat this guy out? So I don't know. But the raw ability and the raw size are all there. So I think it's worth the gamble at 211.
Like it.
Last pick.
All right, last pick. I'm taking a size speed freak to 212. Savion Williams, wide receiver from TCU.
Quinton Johnston.
What do you know? Yeah. So this guy is 6'5".
I love that you didn't throw him in as a comp. when you were talking about the comps for him. I love that you didn't put Quinton Johnson there.
I don't think he plays like Quinton Johnson. I think 6'5", 225. And dude, this guy, he played quarterback in high school. I mean, burst, speed, and agility, and the way he's able to move on the field for a guy that size is, I think, like people are going to be talking about this guy more and more, especially after the combine. I think he's going to jump. I've seen that his vertical is like over 40 inches, probably going to run the 4.4s, maybe 4.3. And they do everything they can to get him the ball. They'll line him at Wildcat. I saw him line up at running back sometimes. Ton of jet sweeps, bubble screens. The only thing is he doesn't really run a full route tree. There's a lot of RPOs in the TCU offense.
How are his ball skills?
I was
ball
just
skills
thinking,
are really good.
Okay.
in my head, you're going over all this stuff, and I'm like, can he run a route, or are they manufacturing touches because he can't get open?
That's the thing. I don't know, it's tough to see on film because there's not a lot of that to grade. But they do throw him a lot of like jump balls in the end zone where he does make some nice contested catches and body control moments that we didn't really see from Quinton Johnson coming out. I will say there are some drops on the tape, but I think you guys will enjoy watching his tape because he's kind of a freak show. So
Was that the guy you texted us?
yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, can we?
Because I was watching him, I'm like, what?
All right. That's
Like
our
Cordell
way
Patterson.
too early 2025 Superflex tight end premium rookie mock draft. We got through it. We started the show late on Eastern Standard Time, and we still got another show to do. So this was fun. Make sure you go to dynastynerds.com. Check out the Nerd Herd. It's good to have Jared back here. You're going to be hearing way more of Jared now that we're entering rookie season. So he's going to tag along and give us some of his analysis on these rookies as well for the rookie show. So get dynastynerds.com. Again, this is the time where the season's just beginning, and this is where we all need help, right? Like I need your guys' help. I need to get into the film room for help. I need the Nerd Score for help. I need the Dynasty League Analyzer for my team to see where it stands, where I can make my moves, where I can trade my draft picks. We got a lot of improvements coming to the Dynasty GM coming in 2025 as well. It's going to be such a better app going forward for you. But this is the time to get in there for anything at all to get into the Dynasty Nerds film room. Get to dynastynerds.com. Check it out. Every rookie that you could draft, we've got all 22 film on him where you can watch, and it's all cut up film. So you can watch a game on Ashton Jeanty. It's going to take you 5 minutes, and you can watch every snap that he played and every time that he was on the field. And that's how you truly judge a football player because it's not every time that they're getting the ball. It's about what they do without the ball as well. Can they pass protect? Do they run downfield? This is all 22 film. This is the same film the scouts are watching, the GMs are watching. So get in there and do your job as a Dynasty GM manager and get in there and make your Dynasty team better by putting eyes to the tape. Because again, we just gave you our top 24. You might see it differently. And when you're on the clock, that's the time for you to make the decision, right? We're going to give you our analysis. We're going to give you our opinions. We're going to put in all the work. But when you're on the clock to make your rookie pick, that's on you. And sometimes you got to put eyes to the tape because it's going to come down to, okay, who do I like? Cam Skattabo or do I like Omarion Hampton? Which one are you going to take? And then that could be the difference between you ending up with Bucky Irvin or you can end up with Braylon Allen, right? That could be the difference. And boy, is that a drastic difference. That's the difference. And when we got said it was a late edition, but we got done watching the tape, that's why we're so big on Tyrone Tracy. And if you listen to this podcast, we talked up Tyrone Tracy pretty significantly. And you probably got a lot more shares. So get to it, dynastynerds.com. We'll be back tomorrow with our 2024 Dynasty Fantasy Football Award Show.
And that's whacktastic. Adios.
Hey, Nerd Herd. Dynasty Nerds has an incredible new offer from Underdog Fantasy for new customers. When you sign up as a new customer, you'll get a chance at their new customer free pick. But that's not all. Underdog is also offering incredible deposit bonuses. Use the promo code NERDS when you first sign up, and Underdog will give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash with your first deposit. That's right, $1,000 to kickstart your fantasy football journey. Don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog app. Sign up today with promo code NERDS and start your journey to fantasy football glory today. Must be 18, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY. And in Tennessee, call 1-800-889-9789.